Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson flying solo for just a moment. I want to welcome in a special guest, Meighan Julbert from the Mindside in Birmingham, Alabama. This is an interesting story, the power of social media. Going through Twitter one day, I noticed that somebody had retweeted something from Meighan Julbert, and it just seemed interesting to me, so I found out a little bit more about it. And her company sounds very, very cool, and I wanted her to come on Sports Blitz and explain it to us. So, Meighan, how are you tonight?
Doing well. Glad to be on. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being with us. First and foremost, and in the most cliche question anybody can ask, what exactly is the Mindside?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It could be a mouthful, but I'll keep it simple. Basically, we're a sports and performance psychology center here in Birmingham. We're located right off 280, but we see clients, in the office, work with teams outside of it, and also see individuals over Skype and FaceTime. And really, we just work with individual athletes, teams, coaches, on mental performance and what it takes to be mentally prepared for competition and ultimately to maximize what's going on in your head, what's going on in your heart, to make sure you're prepared on game day, on meet day, no matter what it is the day that you're competing. Make sure that you're prepared mentally for anything that you might have to tackle that day.
Is this something about overcoming fears? Or is it, for instance, if you had a hitch in a free throw shot, or if you just had a phobia of driving the lane? I mean, what exactly do you guys tackle?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Obviously, there are physical components into, say, it's something with a shot, but basically, we work with, if it is something off with a shot, okay, well, what's off with your shot? Do you, if it is, you have a concern with driving the lane, okay, so why? If we dig into that a little bit, and really figure out what's going on, then absolutely what typically happens is we dig into the why, and then we come up with a plan to overcome it. Yeah, it might be a fear. It might be you're holding back and you don't want to take the shot in the moment when it really matters most because you missed it last game. But those certain things that happen in competition every day make you react differently, and you can start to hold back. And I'll tell you this, a lot of the players we're dealing with nowadays, especially within youth and then even some collegiate athletes, is they're afraid to make mistakes. They're concerned to fail, to screw up big time. And what we teach them is that we have to face those mistakes, and the most important thing is, okay, do we have a plan for how we're going to respond afterward? So we absolutely work on all of those things. It's really an athlete comes in with a challenge that they're facing, or they just want to get better, and then we face it.
Meighan, you just brought up an interesting point. I was doing some traveling last week for my work and listening to a lot of sports talk radio, and one of the subjects that came up was about how a lot of kids don't like to play defense now in basketball because they are scared to death of becoming a GIF. They're scared to death of becoming one of those looping videos that people tweet and put on Facebook where they get their ankles broken. And that is something very difficult for coaches to deal with now because they have to teach, look, when you play good defense, sometimes you're going to get beaten.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and to be quite honest, you might end up as a GIF. You might end up getting your ankles broken, but the challenge is when, especially, for any team, any player, any sport, when you go out there, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to end up looking like a fool if you want to be able to give it your all. And defense especially. Defense is such a huge component of the game. And if you're giving things up too easily because you're afraid to go all in, take a charge. Move your feet. Take risks. That's a huge thing that we teach, are ways that you can be vulnerable and take risks. Because if you're not willing to take risks, then you're not willing to get to the eventual outcome you want. And the problem is that a lot of athletes, they won't be willing to take that risk, unless they know, like for instance, I'm not going to play good defense unless I know that they're not going to get a shot off, unless I know I'm going to get the outcome I want. But instead, it's really important that you might not get the outcome you want. You might get beat. You might end up getting called for the block instead of taking the charge. At the same time, you have to be willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
You're never going to be able to play good defense. You're never going to be able to perform at your highest level.
And Meighan, let me ask you, does any of this ever translate? Do you do non-athletes? It sounds like a lot of this could translate into the business world or even relationships in general. It just, maybe you guys just focus solely on the sports aspect.
Well, I'll tell you this. One of my professors in my graduate degree, we were talking about a long conversation one day, and we really came to the realization that performance is everywhere. You perform on your job. You perform when you're walking down the hallways in school, on tests. I mean, people are constantly being judged, and it's all based on performance. Every day you choose to either be at your best and do the things that are going to allow you to be at your best, or you choose to not. And so, yeah, we absolutely focus primarily in the sports realm. But a lot of the skills that we teach, the mental skills training bit of it, they're life skills. I mean, they can be applied in any performance avenue, and performance is everywhere.
What age groups do you guys get? You and I talked earlier off air, and it seemed like you had a pretty wide range of clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we typically 11, 12, around that age is when they really start to understand a lot of what we're teaching. But it really is dependent on sport and on the individual athlete. I mean, I was talking to an 8-year-old boys baseball team, and it was really simple about a quick skill that we can use right after we make an error to focus on the next play or focus on what we're doing next. But at a simple level, I've had gymnasts are ones that are typically, because they spend so much time in their sport, they're a little bit ahead of the curve in understanding a lot of the mental skills that we teach. So typically it's about the age around 11, 12, but we've had younger athletes come in, and we've worked with younger as well. You just teach the skills in a little bit of a different way, and they don't always learn to apply them right then and there. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
Well, Meighan, really, this is all very, very cool, and you guys are in an awesome business, and this is probably going to take off. We appreciate your being on with us. You guys do a podcast. I know you're on Twitter. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find those?
Yes, absolutely. To find us at themindside.com. Twitter handle is the Mindside. My Twitter handle is Meighan Julbert. We post information, as often as possible, and we've actually got a new series coming out pretty soon. Hopefully we'll be launching it tomorrow, and it's called the Riptide series, and we teach different sports, but short clips. We teach athletes some skills in order to work through the turbulence that you experience in games and the mistakes that happen. So come check us out. We would love to hear from anybody, and we're excited that you had us on tonight.
And Meighan, we are the AHSA Radio Network. We'll be calling all the championship games at the finals at the BJCC. So I want to invite you to come out, and actually I'm going to be doing some of the play-by-play, so I'd love for you to come on and join us on air while one of the games is going on and sort of get your take as things are unfolding. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely love that. Let's set that up.
Okay, well, Meighan Julbert, she did an awesome job with us tonight. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll have you on again soon, okay?
Definitely. Thank you.
Wow, that was very, very cool. She is really an interesting person in a very interesting field, and we hope to talk to her more often, and hopefully she will come to the HSA finals and talk a little basketball and strategy and what's going on the court beyond just the normal color commentating that we normally have. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sports Blitz Live.